to the student body. And hopefully we could turn around the trend of seeing a lot of only negative news and maybe hopefully a little bit more positive news as well as collaborative efforts between all students in the university, which I think is extremely vital. And I think that that would also breed that cyclical idea of creating a stronger, not just a stronger GPSA or a student government with ASU&M, the combination, but also a student body in general. And finally, more of a specific plan that I think creates a little bit more inclusion within the organization of GPSA is refining the finance processes. GPSA has quite a large budget, and they allocate a lot of funding, but those processes are not clear. And I think it's really vital because a lot of interaction with GPSA is solely with a student coming to ask a request for funding, whether it's for research or special travel or for their student organization. And I think that it's vital to make sure that that process, all of those processes, because there are processes in both the council and the executive branch, are as clear and open as possible to provide more interactions with the students.
I've been told that when you do interviews for a job position, you're supposed to ask the person, what have they done, not what will they do. Because it's very easy to say, you know, what the grant scheme is. But what I want to spend a little bit of time here telling you about is how I have served as a GPSA grants chair and how I've made that process visible and made sure that I've been outreaching to all students. And then I want to move on to the general question for the GPSA. With the grants, I conduct 2 to 3 grants workshops each semester to promote the grants that are available to graduate and professional students. And I also hold sort of an open invitation. Any department or student organization that wants to come invite me, I'm happy to go. And that invitation gets sent out, and over the past 2 years, I've been able to hold workshops in the law school, in the medical school, and at El Centro de la Raza, in physical therapy and occupational therapy, in the Ethnic Center foyer, across campus, and been able to actually access all of these different student groups and make sure that their money is accessible to them. So I think that that's been a very positive experience for me personally and for the GPSA and for students, because what we've seen is a rise in the number of applications that we see over the years since I've become the grants chair, and I'm very proud of that. The other thing that is sort of on my record is that as I was serving on the Student Fee Review Board this year and on the Cost Containment Committee, I actually visited over a dozen departments around the university and specifically said, these are the issues that are facing me as your representative. What would you like me to do about them? I mean, I've got some opinions, I'm happy to share those, but what's important is that I need to have a dialogue with graduate and professional students. What is their vision? What's important to them? And I heard different answers, and I was able to take that vision to the table and say, this is, I feel comfortable acting and making these decisions because I know I'm representing graduate student interests. So that's been my record. I think that one of the things, that has to do with GPSA visibility and outreach is representation on council. There are 41 recognized student departments on campus, something like 41, and we see maybe a dozen or so represented on council. There's a list of a dozen or more that don't show up to council on a regular basis. And I think that it's important to make sure that those departments have representation. The other thing that I think is important is that GPSA ought to be an advocate for graduate and professional students. And so we need to know sort of what do students care about. And I think one of the things that was effective this year is that there was a survey conducted in terms of what should graduate and professional students' lobbying priorities be. And actually we turned around and made sure that those lobbying priorities became what the lobby committee, the GPSA, went out to do. And graduate student research was one of those items. We made sure to advocate for graduate student research. So specifically, sort of moving from the general to the specific, I think that as president, what I would hope to do is to conduct more surveys like that, make sure that we know what we care about. I think that we should have a more active programs department in GPSA, make sure that we're a community partner, that we don't just talk to graduate students when we need something from them, when we need their signature on a petition, but actually go out and actually build a community, build the networks, and make sure that we know what graduate students care about. One of the things I'd love to see in the GPSA office is just an open calendar, a big calendar as soon as you walk in the door, of what's going on campus, that anybody could fill out and say, hey, you should come to my event, that kind of an opportunity to make sure that that GPSA has more visibility in that regard. I would absolutely make it my priority to fill committees across the campus, make sure that all the seats that we do have at the table will get filled. And I want to continue the trend of webcasting GPSA meetings so that students who have jobs and kids and everything that we have to do, I mean, heck, just getting a degree is enough time, right? It takes a lot of time, so. Tricia?
I think that a very important part of participatory democracy is having the processes in place for that engagement. That's really absolutely critical. I think that another critical element for GPSA visibility is the fact that GPSA Council represents, as you mentioned, over 41 departments and schools combined in this university. And we have very few coming to the table and sitting down and discussing the issues at hand in terms of what the departments and schools' priorities are. We don't have the instruments in place to be able to gauge what those departments and schools' needs are. We don't have a way to be able to have those departments come to us on a regular basis and say, these are the burning issues of the day. These are the ways in which, excuse me, GPSA can be of assistance. So first we have to put those mechanisms and processes in place. And that entails organizing, working, developing those processes. That means that we have to be a lot more intentional about how we conduct our business. Our business is not conducted in one place at one time and in one date. Our business should be conducted 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And that is, and I don't mean literally, but I mean, if we're in those positions, then we are representing those interests in our lives on a daily basis. So setting those mechanisms in place is very important. And how you do that is, and the survey instrument is absolutely very important. We have to have a way in which students go back and survey their students and able to gauge what it is that those students are facing on a daily basis and how it is that GPSA can actually respond to that. So that means that we have to re-engage those students. We have to send out we have to energize. We have to give people a reason to come to the table. And part of the problem has been that we haven't had those processes in place. We haven't been going around to the university and having our meetings at the School of Education, at the medical school, at the law school. We haven't been holding, and we haven't been there. And those students haven't had a way in which to be able to directly come to us. And those mechanisms haven't been in place. We've been reacting. We continue to react. We don't have a strategic plan in place which prioritizes 2 or 3 common major issues that are across the board affecting all of us so that we can become the resounding voice and so that we can be the implementers and developers of the policies that need to be in place in order to create those changes that will benefit everyone across the board. We haven't had that. And so that's one of the major accomplishments that we've had through the public administration graduate student is that we've been able every semester to survey our students, to have them input to us what it is that they want us to focus on in our leadership for that year. And we take that and we assess that and we as officers devise that and come up with a response. And so that's how we've been able to institute. We gained a place on the advisory board of the School of Administration because that's what the students suggested that we do in order to begin to have that input.
All right, so Jacob, this is your form of rebuttal.
Thank you. I think in many ways this discussion is about leadership and the qualities you want to see in a leader. and I'll